Welcome to Chapter 1 in the Communication Disorders class. What is communication? It's where we share and connect with each other. The transmission of thoughts or feelings from the mind of a speaker to the mind of a listener. All means by which information is transmitted between a sender and a receiver. Communication involves 4 processes: formulation, transmission, reception, and comprehension. Formulation is the organization of one's thoughts or ideas. Transmission is conveying ideas to one another through speaking, signing, gesturing, or writing. Reception involves receiving information. Comprehension is the understanding and organizing of that message. Human communication can be described as social interaction among people. It impacts other people. Do animals communicate? Not exactly the same as humans, but they do have their own form of communication. Successful communication requires a sender, a shared symbolic system, a receiver, and feedback. Feedback is information provided from the receiver to the sender. It includes linguistic feedback, non-linguistic feedback, paralinguistic feedback. Language, speech, and hearing are the essential ingredients of human communication. Formulation, transmission, reception, and comprehension are all part of this. Language is the cognitive process by which we formulate ideas and thoughts. It's a rule-based system of symbols and codes used to communicate, and a form of social behavior shaped and maintained by a verbal community. Language can be oral or non-oral. Expressive language is language that is produced or spoken, and receptive language is language that is understood or listening. Language is universal, species-specific, decontextualized, productive, and learned quickly by young children. Linguistics is the study of language, its structure, and its rules. Formed of community arbitrarily, a community arbitrarily selects the codes or the symbols they are going to use. Linguistics includes phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Let's look a little bit closer at each of these. Phonology is the study of speech sounds and sound patterns. It refers to the rules and processes that govern the patterns of sounds and sound systems. A phoneme is the smallest unit of sound. Speech is basically the production of meaningful phonemes. Morphology is the study of structures. A morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit of language. Words contain at least one morpheme. Base, prefix, suffix, free, and bound morphemes are part of this. Words can be morphed or manipulated to change their meanings. For instance, an ed can be added to walk to show that this activity happened in the past. Or er can be added to turn the verb walk into a noun to describe a person who is walking or a walker. Syntax is the arrangement of words to form meaningful sentences. It involves the rules of language. Noam Chomsky tells us that grammar is innate. Semantics is the study of meaning, the referent theory of meaning, person, place, or thing. The sentence, colorless green ideas sleep furiously, shows us that even though it has conventional rules of syntax, the word order is acceptable, but it has a lack of meaning. Pragmatics is the study of the rules that govern the use of language and language function. A speech act is where words influence listeners and saying is doing. Speech is a neuromuscular process that allows us to express language. To better understand processes involved with speech, say the word eat slowly and deliberately, and think about the process as you do. You will notice that the speech process begins with the intake of a breath, which is then exhaled. This is the basic fuel needed for all speech. That exhalation travels up from the lungs through the windpipe and over the vocal cords, which begin to vibrate and create the E sound. This E sound is then sent into the oral cavity, which is open and marked by a big toothy smile with the lips pulled wide. Notice that the upper and lower jaws are held fairly close together but are not closed. The tongue sits low in the mouth with the tip tucked behind the lower row of teeth and the middle rounded up on the sides to touch the upper teeth. Once the E sound is in the oral cavity, a brief sound escapes and then the tongue comes quickly up behind the teeth to produce the T sound following the E. We sort of take for granted how easy it is for us to produce a word, but there are lots of neuromuscular processes that are involved in making that simple word. The precise activation of muscles in the respiration, phonation, and articulation systems to transmit language are all a part of speech. Perceptual target or phonemic plan is needed. A motor schema or instructions for producing syllables sent to speech muscles is needed. Speech output is where air pressure formed by vocal folds and our nasal cavity to produce speech occur. Building blocks of effective speech include respiration, voice, articulation, fluency. In respiration or breath stream, speech begins at exhalation. An inability to produce or maintain a strong breath stream can result in disordered speech. In voice, the quality is very important. A breathy, hoarse, broken nasal voice can lead to poor communication. Likewise, a voice that is too loud, too soft, too high, or too low can also undermine speech quality. Loudness and pitch are also important. Articulation is the movement of the speech mechanism to produce the sounds of speech. Structures such as the soft palate, tongue, and lips create the sounds of speech. Articulation includes the way sounds are produced. Easy, smooth, flowing, and effortless speech make up fluency. Continuity and speech rate are important. Hesitations, interjections, repetitions, and prolongations can affect fluency. Hearing is the perception of sound. It makes up 1/2 of communication and involves the awareness of sound, the ability to distinguish among sounds, the ability to process sound rapidly. Acoustics involves the study of sound, how sound gets from one place to another. How does that occur? Through sound source vibration, vibration of air particles, reception by the ear, and comprehension by the brain. Communicative handicaps sometimes can produce social and emotional emotional isolation, and they can create serious personal, social, educational, and occupational difficulties for an individual. You may notice that the discussion question for Chapter 1, the first part of Chapter 1, involves communicative handicaps and how they affect individuals. This concludes the first part of Chapter 1's slideshow and lecture. Thanks for listening.